When you think about colonization, it is the strangest thing you can think about. Because conquering is one thing. You go to another country, you take what's theirs, you want more, you take the land, you take the resources, you kill the people. That I understand. But colonization is strange because you go there and you don't just take over, you then force the people to become you. That is such a strange concept. When you think about where the British did it, I mean, they did it in Africa, they did it in Asia, and think about in India. If there's one country, if there's one nation in the world that has no right to complain about immigration, it's Great Britain. If there's one nation in particular, you do understand, they created the problem that they're now dealing with. They went out and colonized the world. At one point, half of the globe was controlled by the British Empire. Do you understand how insane that is? They went around colonizing from pillar to post. People didn't care about them. No one was trying to find the British. The British were the ones traveling the world, telling everyone of their existence, knocking on doors. Hey, we're the British, follow us. Basically ancient Twitter, that's what that was.
No, guys, this is not funny. It is not funny at all. It is serious. Very, very serious. It needs to be addressed. It needs to be revisited and completely reversed. That is the beginning of this conflict resolution. It was a crime yesterday. It is a crime today. It will still be a crime tomorrow. With that singular interaction between Africa and the colonial monsters, the indigenous peoples of Africa lost everything. Everything. Our sovereignty and freedom, our health and well-being, our sense of family and community, our identity, beneficial culture and traditions, our assets and resources, our ancient indigenous languages, and their spiritual codes with associated energy. Everything was lost. Our entire spiritual power gone. Our collective destiny was lost, stolen, and replaced. Kings and queens became beggars and permanently displaced from their ancient land. We lost our lives in several unwarranted ethno-religious killings, orchestrated wars, genocides, and cleansing of indigenous peoples off their ancestral lands because Arab and European capitalists and globalists want the resources in our lands. For example, the Biafran Genocide of 1967-70. That alone took over 6 million lives. Are we talking about the Rwanda Genocide? Congo is ongoing. Southern Sudan? Name it. These criminals imposed inferior government structures and systems on us just to cage us and steal our resources. One of such colonial systems is the Fulani Caliphate and British Crown imposed 1999 Unitary Constitution of Nigeria. Under that evil constitutional arrangement, our sovereignty, identity, and superior social values got replaced and destroyed. Under that evil constitutional arrangement, the sovereignty, identity, and superior social values of the indigenous ethnic nationalities got destroyed. That's what we call internal colonialism or neocolonialism. We got conditioned to accept inferiority complex. There is lack of empathy and affection in our marriages, homes, families, and communities. Our religious and concept of God changed to greedy mercantile Christianity and the bloodthirsty vicious Islam with their global Islamic terror network and, of course, the conquest agenda against the indigenous Christians. Their plan, of course, is to get them to either convert to Islam, die, or go into eternal exile. Under colonialism and neocolonialism, the standard of living of our people became very poor because our resources and assets are stolen and mismanaged. Government or governance, politics, and so-called democracy became the biggest joke. Nothing for the people and everything for the puppet politicians and their religious leaders and elites. The indigenous people of Igbo land, for example, lost the concept of Ohaneze with its superior proper power balance between the people and the government or kingship. Are we talking about the educational system? In this internal colonialism, graduates have degrees but are unable to resolve local problems in their area of study. That system is totally useless and a waste of resources and, of course, time. Because of colonialism and neocolonialism, we continue to lose human capital via migration and brain drain. The colonial system is so bad that those who rise to the top from humble beginnings perpetuate same injustice that affected them and their families. They do not allow their life experiences to positively impact them or impact their character and core values. Instead, they become worse than the people before them. But after what seemed like eternity or forever, and in a twist of fate, this evil empire began to collapse. Yes, the monster they helped to grow began to consume them. Their long-kept secrets and secrecy began to be exposed. Their well-wrapped lies of religious institutions began to unravel. Gender identity crisis began to destroy their family ties. Their children and women began to rebel. And you know what? Their economic theories with no economic justice for the poor began to implode. And now, some well-meaning global citizens are beginning to confess and speak out the truth.
To my speech to the hunger and the distress, these images from Biafra were the ones that pricked the world's conscience in the 60s. But the world continued to remain silent, and the siege continued to their annihilation. From then until today, the numbers are unfathomable. The data in our hands indicates that since the end of that war until our days, approximately 2.5 million people of Biafran origin have been killed. In total, over all these years, we are talking about a fact of nearly 6 million souls. 6 million, a chilling number, horrifying, and it tells us something. What we as Jews have known, this number shakes the heart and the depths of the soul. Today, the situation there is worsening due to invading northern Nigerians. Radical Muslims seeking to take over this region under the silence and even encouragement of the central government. The Igbo people are facing a cruel choice once presented to them by a former Nigerian justice minister: to convert to Islam, to die, or to live in eternal exile. And I ask a rhetorical question: why should we intervene? The Jewish conscience obligates us. The Jewish conscience obligates us to intervene and to shout. I conclude and say to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, raise this issue on every platform, in every international forum. Awaken the human conscience of the nations of the world, of the Gentiles. We have a feeling that it does not exist, as we experienced on our own flesh. The Gentiles are also experiencing injustice, double standards, a false scale of values. And therefore I call out here, from the podium of the Israeli Knesset, to the great world, to the entire world to wake up, to place this on the agenda, and to our foreign minister and our Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Raise this issue in every possible forum and platform. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
The era for the indigenous peoples is now emerging. A door of escape. An opportunity of escape is beginning to spring up. Like spring lilies, hope is beginning to rise. Like fragrance from early season bloomers, anticipation for the restoration of the ancient ruins of our ancestral homelands is beginning to ooze out. The desire to go home and rebuild and restore what the enemy took from us is beginning to manifest in tangible actions and accomplishments. The need for a social reform is now apparent. Lost inner energy is returning. We have realized that He actually never left us. He has always been within us. Yes, within you, Africa, within you, Africans. The power is within you, children of Africa. The power to love you. The power to connect back to nature. The power to seek inner, internal peace. Yes, just let it emerge. Get it activated. It's within you. The warrior lives in you, African children. We do not give up. We fight for what is rightfully ours. Of course, no one will give it to you. So just rise and take it. You are strong, Africa. You are humane. You are kind. You are loving. You are lovable. Yes, African children, we can do this. Thank God we have Minas and the indigenous ethnic nationalities of Nigeria to lead the way with their template for complete decolonization and self-determination. Yes, we can restore our community well-being. The concept of Onyaga na Nwanneya in Igbo land. We can restore our spirituality. We believe that there is supreme and unseen force which rules over all, both the weak and the strong. As a result, we believe that all lives matter and should be respected. That includes animals, plants, and humans, of course. The human life is sacrosanct. That's what we believe. And we believe that all men are born equal. We believe that even non-living things have energy to be tapped into and respected, like land, water, air, wind. We also believe that major creative and destructive elements should be kept in proper balance to maintain harmony in nature. As indigenous people, we believe that true democracy, governance, and rulership involves both the people and the king. the concept of Ohaneze in Igbo nation. A system with proper hierarchy, power, and social order, which involves social groups and age groups. These systems were functional before colonization came and destroyed everything. In those days, gender roles brought natural and social balance and improved health outcome. Yes, we didn't have the type of crisis, mental health crisis, that we're having right now. Anxiety, depression, everything, everybody getting crazy because people are operating out of their comfort zones. In those days, we raised children with proper emotional and mental support. The concept of Obi-Wan, not this evil sibling rivalry that we see today.
Top story tonight at 5. A Macon teen is sentenced to life in prison for choking his sister to death during a fight over a Wi-Fi password.
According to evidence in the case, in February of 2018, a then 16-year-old Kevon Watkins was arguing with his mom because he changed the Wi-Fi password to play video games. His sister Alexis stepped in and then started fighting.
According to testimony in the case, Kevon placed his sister in a chokehold for about 15 minutes. Deputies say she was still in the chokehold when they arrived on scene. Alexis died in the hospital later that night.
We had communal support, craft, trade, entrepreneurship. The type of education we had was such that started from childhood till death in a relaxed atmosphere. We had equity, healthy competition among equals, because everyone was taught to maintain his or her lane. We didn't have this gender identity crisis, no unnecessary childhood trauma with its debilitating consequences. We didn't have to deal with all that. In Igbo nation, for instance, everything, including warfare, was governed and guided by a sense of equity, justice, and fairness. The concept of Ofonogu. The indigenous concept of food prescription and proscription promoted health and well-being. The concept of Aru, that's abomination, differentiated certain actions from mere wrongdoing. And as a result, the forces of retribution were appeased for certain actions. The indigenous people of Igbo land will say, Aro wa aro, obolo omenani, meaning we had to deal with abomination in such a way that offenders were exposed and meant to appease certain forces of retribution so that that evil does not become normal practice in the land. But all these beautiful practices and systems were ruled out. And in its place, colonialism and neo-colonialism came with its fake religion that did not bring our people closer to God. So are we surprised that the children of these colonial monsters went ahead to build an entire island of abomination? You've heard of the Epstein Island and the Epstein file and all that we've been hearing. Cannibalism, torture of children and babies, and of course women and men, boys, girls, demon worship. The type of evil that when you hear, you close your ears. People found joy in doing such, in carrying out such evil abomination. These powerful criminals are allowed to lead the world through their strong political and religious ties and extreme wealth. Are we also surprised that the world is upside down? No, we shouldn't be. So what lessons do we learn from all this going on? The first one is that absolute power corrupts absolutely. Humans are not meant to have, individuals are not meant to have absolute powers, uncontrollable power, system without checks and balances, because they will abuse such powers. Another lesson is that we do not encourage abomination or evil. You don't see evil going on around you and turn away, because that evil will continue. Like our ancestors, we stop evil, we stop abomination. We do not wait for the Christian Islamic God to come and stop evil. These are fictions. Humans stop evil, not Christian and Islamic God. He's not coming. He's not coming to stop the evil going on in your land. He's not coming to stop the evil people that are operating in your land and communities. He's not coming. It is your responsibility to stop the evil people around you. You stop them, you put a system that will punish them and then stop them. That's what you do. So if you have followed us to this point, I know you have a question in your mind, at least one. If you have any question, please drop it in the comments. Comments. You can make a comment or post it in the comment section. Or if it's a comment, drop. Or your experience under colonialism and neocolonialism, or the experience of your people, write it there. If you're an indigenous person, please also write where you're from. We would love to know. We want to know. One question in our minds is, why then were the indigenous people's systems of justice and accountability destroyed for something that's inferior and ineffective, and of course, inefficient? Who will answer it? Greed, wickedness, selfishness, and ingratitude of the colonial Arab and European globalists. That's why colonialism and neocolonialism were not put in place to help the indigenous ethnic nationalities. No, the ingratitude of these colonialists to the kindness and sacrifice of the natives and the indigenous peoples of Africa and all over the world. It's what brought the world to where we are today. These colonialists, these globalists, are not sorry for the land, water, and air pollution they caused. And all these are part of social determinants of health and well-being. Some indigenous peoples lost their farmlands, causing them to depend on unhealthy, overprocessed, cancer-causing foods, which are being imported for them against their fresh, healthy fruits and vegetables. Our people now have to deal with non-existent healthcare system. And even when they're there, they are very expensive. The indigenous peoples have sacrificed so much for so little. Are we talking about the destruction of our local farmlands, loss of vegetation, and climate change due to uncontrolled and unregulated mining activities? Extreme damage to our environment and once bustling local ecosystem. Are we talking about building industries that do not cater for the immediate and basic needs of the indigenous peoples? Replacing food crops and plants with so-called colonial cash crops for Western industries. These capitalists and globalists destroyed indigenous healthy plants and animals and culturally appropriate sources of food and health. Before the colonialists began their evil, every indigenous land had natural nutrients meant to preserve life and health of the people living in such places. The plants and animals, nature made them so well that every land has equivalent of some of these plants. The plants and animals adapt to the environment, so that if you have one particular animal or plant in a particular land, if you travel far to another land, you will see equivalents of that in that land, meant to serve the people and the ecosystem in that place. What does this mean? That we did not need to import or impose foreign species on indigenous peoples. But because of capitalism, these big corporations, they will come to a place, suppress their own species, and impose a foreign one in the land. And sometimes those foreign ones will not do well. They will not do as well as the local ones. But they will suppress that and put their own and then add fertilizer, just so that they will grow whatever they want to grow in your land, whether you need it or you don't need it. So far their industry somewhere needs it, that's what they will do. So they will come and exterminate nature or subdue the plants and animals that make up a particular ecosystem. We are saying that those natural environments and habitats needed to be left alone. They needed to be allowed to thrive. Else, you will cause unhealthy balance. You will damage the ecosystem. That's the plants and animals and human beings living there. And then create bigger health consequences that will cost so much money and funds to fix. What did they know? Or what did they care? They just wanted whatever they wanted. So now you have seen that all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. Yes, that's what the ancient books say. We have all sinned. Both the people that did the evil and the people that allowed some people to carry on with the evil. To this point, we have all sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. As humans, we have damaged the original plan, intents, and purposes of things on earth. What then should we do as humans? We need to make immediate reversal. We are no more ignorant. This is age of knowledge and information. We have adequate information. There has to be a change of attitude. There are certain things that we need to begin to do. The things that we do not even need government to do for us. By ourselves, we need to do them. In our communities, in our homes, in our families. Yes, the things that we do not need our evil governments to do for us, the things that we can do by ourselves. We have to begin to address and reverse all political, economic, health, and social inequalities and grievances from colonialism and neocolonialism. We can do it. We could learn one or two things from nature and from the animals, and of course from the indigenous peoples. Nature is meant to be respected, protected, and preserved, not squandered and pillaged. We, the indigenous peoples, need to begin to reclaim our self-designated, meaningful, and life-bringing names. Yes, the names indigenous peoples give to things, places, and the ancestral lands. Those names are very significant. They are better than colonial, controversial, meaningless, and often derogatory names. You do not need the government to begin to promote your indigenous identity, your languages and heritage, your way of dressing, your way of raising children, your way of living amongst your people. That is your social and communal living styles. You do not need the government to showcase your support for one another. Make and share beautiful memories with your family members and community members. Show us ways of marrying and divorcing, of course, because we believe if there's marriage, there can be divorce, especially for people that are wrongly married. Those that are unfortunately married to weapons fashioned against them and their destiny. You need to come out of that place so that you can move on. You could promote your natural food and sources of nutrition. Thank God for social media. You can do a lot. Collectively, we could begin to review our beneficial cultural, traditional, and religious practices, moderate them to become better and healthier. You could begin to promote activities that will help us to heal from our past trauma. Of course, Nigeria has been a chronic traumatic experience for all the indigenous ethnic nationality. We can't even finish the story of what Nigeria has done to us, to the extent that Nigeria made us to forget how to be humans. So it's time to begin to reverse all this. Let us begin to learn and practice mutual love, mutual respect, and mutual kindness. We must begin to stop being cruel to one another. Let's become humane again. Let's stop the cruelty and violence against women, children, and of course men, especially the weak and the vulnerable people in our midst. If you have the resources, and if your ancestral home is still safe, please go and build a place for your family. Of course, for the Igbo men, remember to add an obi in your compound, a symbol of your presence in that compound. Now the big one. Yes. Stop the activities of criminal politicians, religious leaders, and evil traditional rulers in your communities. Yes, power belongs to the people. So you are able to come together. You, the good ones of the society, the good ones of the community, you know them, you know the evil ones in your midst. Stop promoting them. Begin to separate yourself from them. Like cancer, let's quarantine them. And then team up with Ninas to stop internal colonization.
There's no constitution that is near as fake, near as deceitful, near as make-believe in nature and in content as the Constitution, as what we call the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 as amended.
The people did not agree that the 1999 Constitution is their Constitution. We didn't vote for its approval. So it's not cognizable in law as a valid constitution. It has been imposed upon by sheer effort.
The constitution that we have at present is a fraud.
This is the problem. This constitution can never give us progress. This constitution can never give us peace.
A country of vibrant people with fertile land and fertile minds that could compete with the rest of the world. We have been locked down by a 68-item exclusive list in our constitution that takes away electricity, takes away all the infrastructure, takes away every means of production. The contention of Ninas is simple. We have not made any constitution, full stop. We neither met, we didn't agree, nor write any. We just did not do what was alleged to have been done, which was now basis of which became basis of the instrument that has now hijacked our lives. The constitutional force majeure succeeded 100% in its objectives. You must now call a meeting of the sovereign constituent components who will have to decide how to reconfigure their union. And if they can't get it, if for any reason they are not able to find common ground, we must disperse forthwith.
Hey, what do you mean by restructuring? Well, I don't even like the word restructuring. I prefer the expressions like reconfiguration, decentralization. Everybody can grasp that. Decentralization. And those who lead us, they recognize the necessity of it. They recognize the importance, almost the inevitability of it.
For all of those who are now very hungry, for all of those who are being slaughtered in the manner that had not happened before across the Middle Belt, for all of those who are now looking for where to run to in a Nigeria that that has an economy that is on a free fall, currency that is on a free fall, everything that has gone wrong now, flowing from the fact that we went to that election at a time we should have been going to transition. We haven't seen the worst of what will come from going to election in 2023 under that constitution that guarantees evil. The last part of this task, go to where the information is, you take the videos you see there, begin to share it amongst those who do not know. Information is power. What you have in that YouTube channel is bigger than all the military, is bigger than anything gun can do.
Without reinventing the wheel, therefore, let me state very clearly that the principles I've been talking about include, certainly not limited to, building and compacting a truly people-led and people-driven constitution that they will own and defend against political predators of any form.
The prescription is that no improvement can be, attained under that constitution. Generally, things will only get worse until it all collapses into some, commotion, some very heavy commotion. And therefore, things that will not change, no matter who becomes president, mandated by the Constitution, that is like the tap from where the evils flow. For which reason leaders say to everybody, let's leave election alone. The 5-point proposition of leaders is the only viable remedy to the 4 things happening to you right now. That's the action we can take now. That's the remedial action available for us to convert the outcome of 2023 presidential election into a transitioning. This constitution can only bring us more death, more misery. Let us go to transition to get it out of our lives and rework our union in a manner that brings back life, in a manner that brings back production, in a manner that brings back security. There's a country we still call Nigeria, but it's no longer a project. The federation we agreed upon in Lancaster House died in 1966. Nigeria has come to where we have to either dismantle it peacefully so that people don't die, or we go to rework it wholesale. We start with the dismantling of the bad arrangement that is not working. We have all seen it's not working. And so, unfortunately for the authors of this fraud, they put our signature as the authorization for this abomination. And that is what we are pulling back. The young people that want to see a better country, that say they want to take back their country, young people, this is who took your country. Those who are rallying you to take back your country. It is by taking down this constitution that you are able to take back your country. Every other thing you are doing is a product of ignorance or dishonesty on the part of the people leading you. It's not the people in government house that took your country. It is the constitution that took your country and handed to them in the manner they are managing it. The constitution mandated the corruption you see.
Nigerians ask, which is the way forward? And I say, if you are moving in the wrong direction, you shouldn't be going forward. You should make a U-turn.
There is an article we want you to read. It will help you to understand how and why we need to do this, why we need to stop this internal colonialism, and then how. That article is by our sister, Ndidi Uwechue. Ndidi Uwechue is a British citizen with Igbo heritage from the lower Niger block. She is a retired Metropolitan Police Officer, that's London Police Officer. She is also a signatory to the Constitutional Force Majeure, and she writes from Asaba. She writes a lot of articles, and the one we want us to read this week is, she titled it, "Will National Elections Change Nigeria's Direction?" is a question. She wrote it on February 20th, 2026. But before you go reading, let's just read some aspect of it. Because of time, we can't read all. So that's why we're telling you to go, and we're going to attach it to this video. Sit down and read everything. We'll read a section of it. Pay attention, please. So the part says, what is determining Nigeria's direction. Nigeria's direction is determined by the 1999 Constitution, with its ultimate goal being to make Nigeria the estate of the Fulani, as their Ahmadu Bello had declared in 1960, soon after independence. We said at the start that Nigeria's direction will be disastrous for indigenous ethnic nations, but it will be beneficial for foreigners, as they would gain by dispossessing the indigenous owners. That is what we see happening. Indigenous peoples are getting slaughtered. Their lands with rich resources get grabbed by Fulani. The instrument that determines Nigeria's direction is the 1999 Constitution. All political parties sustain it because they all subscribe to it. Therefore, those that claim to be the anti-corruption party or the youth party or the coalition party are all as guilty of treason against indigenous peoples as are the more established political parties. Nigerians also have a role in what will be the future of their ethnic nation and ancestral lands. They are not babies, so they do not need to remain ambushed and conquered by the Fulani conquest agenda and by its Islamic terrorist associates. Nigerians do have a say in where they choose their and their children's future to be. The article says, fortunately, Nigerians are not doomed if they rise up to action and can save themselves and their ancestral lands. You have a role to play. It says, the counter to 2027 national elections is a time-bound transitioning that terminates the 1999 Constitution and brings fresh constitutional renegotiations. Goes ahead to say, the NINA's transitioning template has been on the table since 16th December 2020. Declaration of constitutional force majeure. Nigerians must, as a priority, rise and demand transitioning to begin right now in 2026 instead of preparing for 2027 national elections. So that is the article we want us to go and read. Like we said, we are attached to today's video, and please settle down to study them, because we are moving ahead to completely decolonize ourselves, to end this internal colonialism. We are doing it for ourselves and for our children and for our next generation, even unborn. We must do it. Indians did it. China, they did it. The other day I was in London. I even saw that London was one time colonized by Rome, and they came out of it. They have their stories to tell, how they fought to end colonialism. America, of course, we know, was one time colonized, and they fought and ended colonialism. So we have people rooting for us. We have international partners ready to work with us and already working with NINAs. It is your own responsibility to go to NINA's website and Daughters of Truth social media handles to get yourself acquainted with what is going on and where we're going with all this. Please subscribe. Hit that subscription button, hit like, share, because this information needs to get to everyone. This is the job for us to do. Thank you very much. Bye.